Hey, what's up, y'all? Today I'm going to be showing you how to change your oil on a 2003 Toyota 4Runner. And so basically first I'm going to go through just the tools you're going to need. First thing, drain pan to drain the oil. You're going to need a ratchet with an extension. The two sizes you're going to need are a 14 millimeter and a 12 millimeter. The 14 millimeter is going to be the drain plug, and the 12 millimeter is going to be the plate that's on the bottom of the car that covers where the oil filter is. You need an oil filter wrench, a rag, or multiple rags. I'm going to use the Pennzoil High Mileage 5W30 and an oil filter which I purchased from Toyota. These are like $5 at the Toyota parts department. Works better than the Fram in my opinion, because I've gotten Fram filters that had leaky gaskets, and I had a mess when I went to change my oil the next time, and my car was low on oil because my filter was leaking. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is locate your oil plug. I'm going to crawl in from the front of the vehicle, and I'm going to go back, and if you look under, you'll see a big cutout. It's like an oval shape, and right up underneath there, inside there, is the oil plug. That is the oil plug right there. So that's what we're going to loosen. Position your drain pan underneath the vehicle so that it will catch all the stuff that comes out of the plug. Alright, so using your 14 millimeter with extension, you're going to stick it up straight through that oval hole, and you're going to put it on the oil plug, and you're going to twist to the left to loosen the plug. So you're loosening your plug, turning it to the left. Once it's kind of loose, you can reach your hand in there. I would recommend not doing this while your vehicle has been running for a long time, because the oil will be hot and can burn your hand. Alright, so I'm right at the edge of the threads. We're going to take off the plug and let all the oil drain into the pan. Okay, so here you can see the oil is now draining into the pan. You're going to want to let that just finish before you do anything else. A helpful tip, you can open the oil cap on the top of the vehicle so that the oil will drain better, because there will be better airflow through the system. Okay, so what I like to do next is, while the oil is draining, as you can see in the background there, I like to take off this cover, which is where my oil filter is located underneath this scratch plate. So you can see there's a bolt here, there's a bolt here, there's a bolt in this hole, and there's a bolt in that hole right there. So there's going to be 4 bolts, and those are going to be your 12 millimeter socket. So again, you just left to loosen the bolts. Loosen that one. Loosen this one. In the back. Now these may be kind of hard to see, but if you notice there's a round hole right here. If you lift your head and look inside there, you can actually see the bolt. The camera actually won't focus through that hole. But you can actually see where the ratchet's at. You can see it right there. And you can see where to put your ratchet to loosen. And then you loosen that bolt. And this action is going to be the same for this side. You have the sight hole, and then the bolt is back here. Alright, so we got all of our bolts loose. I'm taking this last one out here. And when you get all the bolts out, what you're going to have to do is lift on the back side and get the these front clips. You see how this clips in? It's going to come out like that, and then you got to get the other side, and then the whole thing just lifts off. But this takes 2 hands, so I'm going to cut to the next part when I take this. Alright, so I got the pan off. What you're going to do is just set it on the side. Alright, so the pan is off, and then you want to locate your oil filter, which is right here. You can see that there. This is our oil filter, but before you take the oil filter off, because it is hanging in a downward position, you're going to want to get your oil pan. Before you grab your oil pan though, your oil needs to finish draining. So once your oil's finished draining, plug your oil plug back into its into the drain plug, and then you pull your pan underneath the filter so that you don't make a mess. Now, the other reason I like to buy my oil filter from Toyota is because every time you buy a filter, they give you one of these gaskets. This gasket actually goes on your oil plug, and it helps prevent leaks. So I change that every time I change my oil as well. Alright, so I've actually run into a little issue here. My old gasket is actually stuck to the oil pan. So what I'm going to do is, because if you leave that gasket on there and you put the new one on, it's going to wind up leaking. So I'm going to take a flathead screwdriver and I'm going to pick this gasket off so that I can apply the new one and not have any leaks. Alright, so I got that one off. Fill in my oil pan there, and then I'm going to wipe the surface, and then I'm going to apply my new gasket with my oil plug. Alright, so I'm going to put my oil plug back in its place, the bottom of the drain pan, oil pan. Alright, and then I'm going to take my 14mm ratchet and I'm going to snug it up and this time we're going to go righty tighty, lefty loosey. Just want to get it snug. Put it on there too tight. And then you may want to wipe any excess oil that may still be on the bottom of the pan. Alright, so now that I got my oil plug back in, I'm going to get my filter wrench and I'm going to pull my oil pan underneath my filter. As you can see, my filter is right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to now take my filter off, and all of the oil that is left in the filter, you'll see, will come draining into the pan. So give this a couple of cranks. And now that it's kind of loose, do it with my hand the rest of the way. Get my filter wrench out of there. And we're just going to go slow. Let the oil drain. There goes the oil. As you can see, it's going in the pan. We'll let it drain a little bit so we don't make a mess. Keep everything clean. And now it's really going. And then when you get it off, try to hold it upright because there is still some oil in the filter itself and you don't want to make a mess of things with it. And then I dump it in, drain out, and then we're ready to put the new filter on. Alright, so same as the oil plug, the oil filter comes with a new gasket. And there's a little piece of plastic on here on this Toyota filter. And what you're going to do is you're going to just open that up, and the filter is already greased. Can't get this with one hand. Okay, so you got your plastic off. And what you want to do is you want to look at your old filter, and you want to make sure that your old filter still has the gasket on it. Because if that gasket sometimes can get stuck on the surface that the filter mounts to here. I'll show you a view of that. You see how this surface is clean? You want to wipe all that down, make sure you don't have any rubber residue or anything on there that's gonna mess the seal up, and then you'll have a leaky oil filter. Now, like I said one time, I've always done this. I've always made sure that the surface was clean, and I got a Fram filter that had a bad gasket on it, just was all dried up or something, and it leaked the entire time until I changed my oil, and I didn't know it because that pan that we took off a few moments ago was actually catching it all, and so when I took it off, it was all full of oil in there. It was really nasty. But anyway, so you're going to want to wipe this surface, make sure it's all clean, should be smooth, and then you're going to put your new filter on. Alright, so as you can see, I've got my surface all clean, and I'm ready to go on with the new filter. So you stick it up there, and you start twisting it. Make sure you don't cross thread this. want to tighten it down. I'm going to go hand tight as I can with my hand, because when it gets hot it'll actually get tighter anyway. So you just want to snug it up, but don't have it too loose because then you'll have leaks. So I'm going to get a good crank on it. Alright, and that is your oil filter. Alright, so the process of draining all the old oil and changing the oil filter is now done. And we're going to put our guard, a pan, back on the bottom of the engine here. Alright, so you get your guard pan back in, and then you line up the holes. The same bolts, that's going to be the 12mm that you took out, and you tighten them all back down. Again, when performing this action, use these sight holes provided, so that way you can line up the bolts with the hole. Here, there, turn it, screw it in. Alright, so we're going to finish tightening our 12mm bolts that hold this pan on. This plate protects the bottom of your car. Snug, and we're ready to put the new oil in. Alright, so here we are back at the top of the vehicle. I'm going to take my oil cap off, which is already kind of loose, but just sitting on top of there. I had it loose so that the oil would drain better through the back. And so now I'm going to just start pouring these in, the oil, the new oil. This is 1 quart. The 2003 Toyota 4Runner actually takes 7 quarts of oil. And I know that's the case from 97 all the way to I believe it's 2012. 2013 is when they started making the new models of 4Runners. So all these take 7 quarts from 1997 to 2012. I'm not sure what the new ones take. I would assume they're probably close, but make sure you find out how much oil your car takes if you have a different year outside of 1997 through 2012. Okay, that's 1. 7 more. It's actually 6 more, rather. 7 total. Alright, now for these last 2, I'm actually going to show y'all how to use a funnel. Some of you may be purchasing this oil in like a 5-quart bottle. And so I'm going to you're going to need 7, so you have to buy 1 of those and 2 of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how a cheap way to make a funnel for when you change your oil. First, you empty a single quart, into the oil bin or cylinder, wherever it goes in your oil reservoir. Okay, and you're going to make sure that it drains out completely. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to leave the bottle here, and we're going to cut the top of this off with a razor blade. Alright, so as you can see, I have cut the top of the oil bottle, which is actually the bottom, but you see how I left this hanging on here so we could see. You can cut it off completely, but you see how it actually has now opened up and is sitting in the oil reservoir, and this will actually stay there, and you can pour oil into through the top, and you can do that like if you have a 5-quart bottle. It's a lot easier to pour when you have a funnel and stuff rather than trying to fight it. So I'm gonna show you how this works. You just go and you pour it in like so, and it works just like a funnel, and it doesn't cost a cent. I actually buy my oil from Sam's in quarts individually because it's cheaper that way. Maybe cheaper for you to buy it in the 5-quart deal and measure it out and all that good stuff, but this is what I do. So yeah, that's pretty much it. All your oil has drained from there and gone in, and so now we can get rid of that. You put your cap back on. And that is how to change your oil on a 2003 Toyota 4Runner. Thanks for watching.